All right, what's up, everybody? This is A7X Fan Ben, and this is a fleet I want to use this year called Event Horizon. It was made by Darrin way back in 2008 or before, and it's a really fascinating fleet. It basically uses the +1 ability that you can get from having an expatriate on their linked ship, and uses that to +1 on Mysterious Island rolls. And Mysterious Islands, as you might know, can be really powerful. And this one uses a variety. It could use a variety of the best ones. The way I want to use it is to try to win the game on gold, of course. It's called Event Horizon because he was using it to bring in events via the Mysterious Island effects. But I want to use it with Mysterious Island number 1, which on a 5 or 6 says when the ship explores this island, randomly move 2 treasure coins from every other wild island to this island and then choose which to take. So this is like this massive like gold vacuum or like a treasure suction effect that's really powerful. I haven't used it in years because when I did use it, it just made the island a magnet for attention and just kind of destabilized the games that I used it in. But lately I've been on kind of a competitive 40-point kick, and that's not letting up anytime soon, it seems. So I'm basically just trying to gamify and exploit things as much as possible to see how far things can be pushed. And Darrin, of course, as you might know, as far as we know, or as far as I know, he was the one that invented the universal pirate shipping fleet archetype that's really competitive. I'm not sure if he was the first one like in the world to use it or discover it and how good it could be, but anyway, that's how we know about that fleet archetype. So he's like one of the all-time fleet creators, maybe the best ever, arguably. So anyway, and if you happen to know how to contact him or know him, feel free to let me know. I'd love to talk to him about pirates. But anyway, so we'll get into the fleet. I'm making this partly to bring attention to it, and partly because I want to use PSM list a little bit more for fleets, and I feel like a lot of his fleets went kind of unnoticed. I don't know if this got any comments or votes back then, or after 2008 when the page capture was taken at archive.org. But anyway, I just want to bring more attention to it, and kind of a fleet this kind of strange and slightly complicated, I think deserves a video. Some other fleets I play might not get videos because they're kind of more basic, but this gets kind of crazy. So anyway, so I copied and pasted the fleet outline, or his whole description, just to try to give him as much credit as possible. And then I'm gonna put this little blurb at the top here, and I might fill out some more stuff. Actually, I should do that now because I know PSM list doesn't have events yet. So I'm gonna put plus hidden cove for 2. So plus hidden cove for 2 points, and then it's not my fleet, it's Darrin's Event Horizon. So I think that's fine. We'll make it public because it's already out there for anybody that finds the link. I don't know if I've publicized the link to the original fleet, but that'll be in the fleet description. So we're gonna get into this here. So Slipstream links to Thane Heartless. So these are a couple pretty expensive Mysterious Islands. They're actually not rares. That probably got changed later on in Miniature Trading, but they're like promo or LE crew, or not crew, but LE pieces, I think. And you get them in that message in a bottle pack. So I don't know if maybe the fleet description is too long, but let me try to do this again here. I think I copy pasted all of it, so that's important. Yeah, that's good. That's partly why I like to copy paste everything. Maybe the description is too long, but either way, we can just try one more time. Shouldn't gonna be longer than 5,000 characters. All right. Well, we're not going to include any of this in that case because it's going to be confusing. If I include some of it and not others, then whatever. So it's all available at the link, so you can just read up on it there if you want. And I'm going to be referencing it a bit actually to make this video. I read about it today, but it's really fascinating. So I don't want to have this video take forever though, so I'm just going to start adding pieces. So Slipstream allows crew of any nationality to use their abilities on the ship. And that allows us to add good old Captain Jack. So I guess you could call it, it's kind of a UPS fleet, but not a typical one. So we're going to turn off the filter. Got to make sure to include the captain in his name so he doesn't get offended, right? And then we're going to add my friend Shane Hartley, who is Thane Heartless in the game. And we're going to go from there. So we've got CC 120. That's interesting. So I think that's a pirate explorer. I'm going to add, I think it should be a mercenary explorer. So I'm going to do that. I might change it slightly just to potentially optimize it slightly more. Because that way, if you cancel the Slipstream's ability, you still can use Explorer. Versus if it's a Pirate Explorer, that ability is also dependent on that. It probably won't come up. It probably won't get... I don't know if that's what they would cancel. But anyway. So we have Slipstream. It's a little awkward because that gets us to 12 points right away. And now we don't have room for a helmsman. We're gonna solve that problem later. So it's only going to be moving L. But like I put in the description, we're going to add Hidden Cove for 2 points. So we're actually at 26. So it's a really tight fleet on points, but there are a few ways to optimize it that I might try out variants for in the future. We'll see. And for the second ship, we have Coeur du Lion, which you probably are not surprised to see because I've been using this one quite a lot as it's generally the best UPS drop-off home island ship that you can have. And we're going to add Aristide and Aura as usual. And then after that, it's going to get a little bit more intriguing, if you will. So we're going to add Philippe Dubrisac. So this is how we're going to get a helmsman to the Slipstream. And you can see that in his original description, but I'll get to it in a little bit. And then there's also a helmsman from Crimson Coast that I think I want to... Let me see which one that is. 124. It's probably French. Yeah. So I think I'm going to change that to a mercenary helmsman. Just to... That might be a better play there. So, because it's going to spend... that helmsman should spend much more time on the Slipstream than on the Coeur du Lion. So, and then there's also a couple oarsmen that would start the game on the home island. So I'm going to actually add those here because realistically they're going to get transferred from Coeur du Lion. So I'm going to add mercenary oarsmen. So once again, so then that way they're not dependent on the Slipstream ability to use their abilities on the mercenary ship, the Slipstream. So pretty interesting. One weakness of this fleet is HI placement as well, actually. So HI placement, due to the mercenary keyword, the Slipstream has to start the game away from a home island. So therefore, you do not want your home island to be right near an enemy's home island, because if they go first, they might be able to bring in over a gunship and just sink the Slipstream. Because pretty sure she has to start the game surfaced, because you can't use the submarine ability before, at least as far as I know, you can't use the submarine ability to submerge before the game starts. So something to keep in mind is trying not to be right near an enemy's home island. So, and then, because yeah, there's a lot of weaknesses to this fleet. It's really quite a bizarre gimmick fleet overall, but we'll continue. And then we've got Longshanks with Lucky the Parrot. This is the main part of the fleet that I might change in the future for my own usage and experimentation, especially if this fleet does very poorly in its first game. I might change this around. So Longshanks in this fleet is designed to run like interference for Slipstream, but there might be a better use of those 7 points. An event like Becalmed might be helpful to slow an enemy down while we're farming this mysterious island for treasure. So, or even more crew to swap as well. So, I don't know. And then we've got Jollyman with Hag, which is not too surprising. So that gets us to 43, but we do have the Hidden Cove as well. So then we're at the 45 maxed out with the +5 added. So this is going to be fascinating. Hidden Cove, and then we're going to add UTs, forts, Paradise. Yeah, we could add pirate forts too. I don't really see why not. So I'll add a few of those down here as well. So Paradise, Pierre. But yeah, we have 2 pirate ships in the fleet. So even if I take out Longshanks, we're probably going to have access to these other forts, the pirate forts as well. So I'm going to add all 4 forts between the 2 factions, just in terms of availability. So if you use this fleet, probably Paradise would be getting used, but it's good to have the others available, especially something like Dead Man's Point. If you only have 3 gold and you feel like you need to build a fort, then you have a cheaper one available. So we'll add the UTs as well. Nemo's Charts, Runes of Thor, and Smuggled Goods. I'm already laughing because this is just such a funny gimmick fleet. So Nemo's Charts is one of my favorite UTs, especially with Mysterious Islands. So you add 2 to the die roll result. So if we manage to find that, and we have Thane Heartless as well, we'll be adding 3. So then, unless we roll a 1, we'd be getting the 5 or 6 effect of the Mysterious Island. So it's pretty crazy. And then Runes of Thor, it's kind of obvious. That one, if you just change it to a 6, then you automatically get the right roll. You automatically get the positive effect. And then Smuggled Goods, I'm not sure. I don't think I saw this in the fleet description, but I think he included it to basically send this home. It doesn't take up cargo space, and then the next coin that gets sent home, or one before it, I guess. Either way, it's a way to double the value of the lowest gold value on the ship. There's realistically only going to be 1 at a time that the core is unloading. So that's our fleet. So it gets really crazy. So you Hidden Cove out to the first turn, and then you dock, and it's really crucial that things go well off the bat. And we're going to use Mysterious Island number 1 because number 5 is a more devastating negative effect. So number 1, if you roll low, you just move treasure coins to another wild island. Not a big deal, because we're going to keep redocking until we get this 5 or 6 effect at least once. The crazy thing is, in a 40-point standard game, there's only 4 coins per island. So as soon as you get this to work twice, all the gold in play that was wild when you rolled the 5 or 6s gets warped to this one island. So theoretically, within 2 rounds, you could have all 16 coins on the same island that you're docked at. And then since you're sending home treasure, preferably every turn, with Captain Jack Sparrow using the UPS strategy, you can flip up a fort on the first turn, or probably the second turn. Ideally, you would build a fort after this happens twice. So Mysterious Island effects do not, their effects are nullified when a fort is on the island. So once you build a fort, you're not going to be able to warp treasure there. That being said, you might see that you have 6, if you're using the more than half endgame trigger, where 16 gold or more wins, you could see that after one warping, after one suction or vacuum event, you have 16 or more gold between the island and what you're sending home, which is pretty good chance. Because at that point, you'd have 10 coins out of the 16, 4 that started on the island, and then 2 from each of the other 3 wild islands. So you'd have 10 out of the 16 coins easily accessible to you. And then if you get it a second time, let's say you get this on the second turn, because with Thane Heartless, you only need to roll a 4, 5, or 6. So on any given docking or redocking of the ship, you're able to have a 50% chance of vacuuming a ton of gold to you. so it's pretty insane. And so it doesn't take long to potentially accumulate a ton of treasure all in one spot. Obviously, that's going to become a huge magnet for attention. and your opponent's going to come after that island too. Say you might give them no choice but to do that. But that's part of why you might want to build Paradise there to protect it as you try to send as much home as quickly as possible. So if you're using the half or more than half endgame trigger, this could get really out of hand quickly. The game might be over quickly if you get the right rolls out of the gate. But anyway, especially with the +2, with Aristide's +2, it would really help. So anyway, so it's pretty insane. You might have to rely on the fort, unfortunately, which could be a problem. Like you might have to rely on the fort staying strong against enemy bombardment, because if that goes, then it's all available again. You might be able to just rebuild the fort though. So Paradise could be key to this fleet potentially. So one big thing to keep in mind is that per the code, reroll actually cannot, you can't use it to reroll Mysterious Island effects. So that's one thing about Darrin's description that's out of date. Because the reroll is for the ship, but the MI effect is for the island essentially. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And I'll explain a little bit more of it. You can read his description, of course, but basically Brissac is there because Slipstream is already at 12 points, but Thane Heartless links. So she has 4 cargo minus 3 crew that take up space. So 1 space open. So you're going to dump the Explorer on the wild island once you've explored it and you don't need it anymore. And then the Helmsman and Brissac are going to come aboard. Brissac can use his abilities per the ship ability, of course. And then, so that frees up a 2nd cargo space, basically 4 minus the 2 that are still there. And then you can load up Brissac and a Helmsman, which gets you to 15 points, but then it's minus 3 because Brissac subtracts 1 from the value of the other 3 crew that are aboard. So that's how you fit the Helmsman there. And he mostly did that so that Slipstream would be able to easily redock the island, because without a Helmsman, you're only moving L. So you got to make sure you're redocking in like an inlet or whatever, so you don't have to have 2 movement segments. So I'll have to take a look at Mysterious Island number 1 and see what the shape looks like, because that's actually going to be really key for the redocking strategy. But anyway, so you can't reroll, and then you're getting bonuses, move and redock, Captain Jack Sparrow trade another coin for Philippe de Brissac. Yep. And then you can move LS, and then you keep repeating it, and you could probably stop warping coins. I mean, all it takes is 2 good rolls, and all the treasure that was on Wild Islands is going to be on this one island the Slipstream is at. So you'd probably stop redocking once it's all there, because then unless you wanted to send it away for some reason on like a 1 roll, but overall you'd probably stop redocking and just re-explore instead, to use Captain Jack Sparrow to send coins home. And then the Longshanks is there to run interference, but she could also potentially in a pinch receive a coin from Captain Jack. If she had one of these mercenary oarsmen aboard, she could be part of the trading as well. But I don't think that would really happen though, because Slipstream doesn't have any extra actions available. So you're probably only going to be able to send 1 coin home per turn. So, and then it'd be crazy if you found not Runes of Thor. Well, either that or Nemo's charts. If you found either of those on the first turn, you could use that to make it way more likely, or even inevitable in the case of Runes of Thor, that you would warp more coins to the island on the 2nd round. So it's pretty insane. There are a lot of drawbacks, so that's why I put these considerations here. So the biggest problem is that Mysterious Islands aren't guaranteed to be used. Players have to agree to even use them in the first place. So there's a chance that your opponent won't want to use them. But then if you do, you can still argue for that, and then it can go to a D6 roll. So I've got Wolf up on here from a little while back. So how are Mysterious Islands handled if some players want to use them, others don't? let fate decide, and then they can all roll dice. So whoever gets the best roll will get what they want in regards to Mysterious Island usage. So there's a chance that this fleet would get nullified like in the setup phase, which is ugly. But I guess in that case you could really switch things up, because you place islands before you place terrain or choose home islands or even place crew. So you could have a backup like crew fleet ready to go. You could have completely different crew and put different stuff on Slipstream and other ships, and have a more conventional game played with this fleet with the same ships. And they're not too bad. I mean, Slipstream can ram, submerge, Core is a good gold runner, Longshanks is one of the better ships in the game, so it probably wouldn't do well, but you could at least make do with some kind of backup crew selection. And then placing treasure also occurs after placing crew, so you could switch out the UTs, because then Nemo's charts would be irrelevant. So and then Mysterious Island effects can be rerolled. Fleet is very weak to negative UTs. If the Slipstream loses her Explorer on the first Explorer, for example, something like Plague or Missionary, and then it's a bad roll, you're going to be like really stuck, because the way this works is if you get a bad roll, you move stuff away. But then if you lose the Explorer, it's not the docking. A lot of Mysterious Islands have their effects occur because of the docking, but this is like an after effect. So it's when the ship explores this island. So if you don't get it, you lose the Explorer. So on the second round, you have to redock, try to get the 5 or 6 again. But then if you don't have the Explorer, you have to wait another round. So if things go bad out of the gate, you might be totally screwed. So, and it might start going too slow. And it's to the point where at some point, either an enemy might be able to hit the Slipstream and sink her or something, or they're going to start loading the best coins from at least 1 or 2 or maybe even all 3 of the other islands. And then at some point, the warping, the vacuum suction effect is going to become a lot less effective if you can't get good coins to come to you, basically. So, and then again, like I said earlier, I'm gonna try almost the entire original fleet. I did swap the crew nationalities a little bit. I think it might be a little bit better to have them align with the Slipstream's nationality, but I might test out switching out the Longshanks for Becalmed in Favor of the Gods or some other 2-point option. But I think the first time I use this, I want to use it as earnestly as possible. I think the first time I'm going to use it, I'm probably going to have the other fleet be fine with Mysterious Islands. That might affect how they place islands. But anyway, I think for the first game, I want to just kind of not let it win, but I want to let it happen and see, how it does or how the other fleet reacts and stuff like that. I'll do my best to play the fleets equally. And he does make a really good point in here about using, here we go. Make sure you place 3 or more identical copies of whichever mysterious island you need, because if both MIs become home islands, there should still be an MI in play that you can hidden cove out to. So that's a big deal. So you'll need to play this fleet. You'll basically need 3 copies of the mysterious island you want to use, which in this case, for the way I want to play it, is mysterious island number 1. So that's a big one. And that way, if they don't contribute any mysterious islands, but they agree to use them, of course, then there's always at least one. There might be more than one, but it makes me think about if you actually want to pick one of the others as a home island. It depends on the setup. And like I said, you don't want to be near an opponent when using this fleet because you want to stay protected. And Slipstream has to be surfaced to dock, so she can't really submerge and pull this off. So you might want to actually pick one of the other MI number 1s as a home island and hope your opponent does too. Because if there's more than one of these in play, your opponent might do this too. And then you're going to be like having like a treasure suction battle where each player is rolling they're redocking and or exploring and rolling to see if they can vacuum the treasure closer to their own home island or their own island that they're trying to take from. So if there's more than one of these MIs available once play starts, it could get kind of bizarre because there's going to be a lot of treasure moving around all the time. So because 2/3 of the time, at least 2 coins will move. So, and if multiple players get a high roll early in the game, I mean, it's just going to be chaos. So especially with stuff getting taken and potentially UTs getting face down, UTs getting swapped, and it could be really crazy. So I'm really excited to try this fleet out, though. I think it's really one of the crazier ideas I've seen in a fleet. There's a lot of different mysterious islands that have pretty crazy effects that I'm interested in seeing if I can exploit this year. And there's going to be more mysterious island farming fleets coming from me. So you might want to check those out for some of the weirder and more gimmicky and kind of crazier, potentially game-breaking ideas that this game has to offer. So appreciate you checking it out. Feel free to give Darrin's fleet a look, and feel free to like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more Pirates content, and feel free to support me via the affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.